all. So, on behalf of all panelists, I welcome you and we start our discussion for smart data and CX excellence. Mainly we are going to talk about data analytics technology trends, and how can you leverage or get the breakthrough results out of the data analytics platform that you're building at your company, your organization. Before I actually go on introducing my fellow panelists, I'll just give you a market context of this entire data analytics market. If you look at data analytics market, it's currently roughly around 200 to 220 billion worldwide. And within 3 years, it is going to go to 275 billion. So look at the size of this, the way it is growing in terms of in Asia, mainly in the US. Also, when you divide this data analytics market by component, it has a software component and it has a hardware component. Mainly this panel discussion is going to focus on the software aspect of it, the technologies, the trends, and how can you get the breakthrough results. Also, when you try to divide this entire market by the solution, you will get the risk management solution, you will get the personalization solutions, then you will get multiple other solutions which are like fraud management. So there are 3-4 major segments which are occupying the major share of this data analytics market. And when you divide this market into domain, you have finance is a major that is occupying, then you have insurance, you have process, the music industry is coming up. So there is n number of factors that are governing, okay? So we will try to make the best use of time, and hopefully by the end of this panel discussion, you will feel that you have got some value or some new ideas which you can take to your organization. And I'll start introducing my panelist, Kaushik Bhatt, okay? He is leading data and strategies. He is an authority and has a patent on the data governance side, and he is going to bring the data governance perspective to the table when we start his central pitch. Second part is we have a director from GE Data Analytics, which is Chandan Vijay. Chandan has a diverse experience of 16 years. He leads multiple product portfolios at GE, and we look forward that the practice that he runs at GE, he is going to bring in that perspective. I have on my side is Vidya Veeraraghavan. She leads the analytics and insights team at Standard Chartered, and we will get the financial perspective from her. Then we have, I'll start from the other, Sanat Kumar Mishra. Now we have somebody from music industry. You can see that he is the one who is the brain behind radio jockey. We keep on hearing the radio jockeys, but we are very keen to listen his perspective, what analytics they are doing at Radio City India, and how he is fueling his radio jockey to be more effective. The other part is he has got multiple awards. He is the ranker in statistics, and one of the awards that he's got at London is one of the international recognition that to his belt. Yeah. The next we have is Shrikant Kejriwal. Shrikant is head of consumer analytics and insights from Mahindra & Mahindra. So he is from a manufacturing domain. So it's good that actually we are covering finance. We are covering GE, which is equipment and technical. We are covering the music industry as well as the manufacturing. And the next to me is Ankush, okay? Next to me is Ankush Ghadi, Director Data Management. He is leading at CRISIL. He brings the diverse experience of something around 16 to 17 years to the table. Now I ask Vidya, let's start with women first. Okay, so Vidya, can you give your first central pitch for this panel discussion? Each one of you will give some discussion, and then we'll go into questions.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Vidya Veeraraghavan. I am forever apprentice. I wanted to give a little practical philosophy here. I think it warrants here because all of us are leaders here. Too many people hit their okay plateau and stop at that. A lot of people don't go beyond that. They don't strive for bettering themselves and to be something different than what they can actually do. but people who choose the path of mastery, they challenge themselves by upping their goals, breaking all their ceilings, glass ceilings and otherwise, and they never stop being forever apprentice. So I have a track record of continuous learning. I have been with two major foreign banks, Citibank and SAB, Standard Chartered. I have over 17 years of experience in the banking domain, and I have been continuously a learner and also now a leader. In the past lives, I have done banking operations and fraud analytics. In my current position, I head the analytics and insights team for Standard Chartered Global Business Services. And this is a platform where I want to share how every day I use my expertise and play with the data, partner with the technology teams, and how I get things done from them. So over back to you.
Yeah, you can share any of your central pitch, any breakthrough result that you've recently presented as a central idea. Where we can start off.
So I consider myself a people person, and also I love to encourage a lot of people around me to see analytics in a clear-cut view. A lot of people get scared of analytics. They don't actually understand what analytics is. So in my current position, I am privileged to democratize the data and also the analytics tools, which I can spread across the organization to make more people friendly with their data, because data does not get smart on its own. It needs smart people. It needs people to make it smart. So I encourage a lot of people, and this is the breakthrough that we are trying for 2020. This is one of my primary goals that I have for 2020.
Okay. Then can we start with you?
Sure.
Any of the as your central pitch, any example that you want to start with, because then I'll go on strategy and other aspects.
Absolutely. So I typically lead a group of teams within an organization called Finance Data Lake, which is FDL within GE. We are a single shop for basically all of data GE for the closing and reporting platforms for financials. If you look at finance, right, simple words, it's all numbers. Historically, people had been doing finance on Excel. Then came MS Access. As started people moving forward in their journeys, ERPs came in. Centralized pre-built reports within ERPs are there. Now as you look at today's scenario, what we're looking at is we're consolidating all of the financials data, and we're giving better insights to executives in terms of how the cash position looks like, how it might look like in 6 months from now, depending and basis on doing data science, machine learning, on the historical data from customers, for suppliers, and giving better cash results to the executives. Because if you cannot predict to the markets how your balance sheet is going to look like in 6 months or 9 months, the market isn't going to treat you better. Your stock price will be volatile. So how do you make market more stable? Is by giving consistent financial numbers to regulators, to SEC, to market, so that you can make more reliable outcomes and be more predictive about what you're doing. I'll give a recent example. For example, it's a very simple thing in financials world. It's called account reconciliation. Where every month end or a quarter end, banks do it. You close your books. There are several people who are involved in closing those books, doing a manual number of hours, trying and matching those transactions, and finally consolidating the real balances, ledgers, and saying, hey, we're done with this, good to close the books. In last 1 year, we've actually automated that process to a 60% in the company for several businesses. That's a net productivity savings of $64 million within GE. That's the kind of people we're talking about. Now we can utilize those people in doing more meaningful financial work rather than going and looking at each transaction, trying to match how it is being done. Applying data science algorithms, matching the transactions automatically, creating a threading which starts from your, if you call inquiry, to the end result, which is when the invoice is completely paid up. That is what the data science or the analytics actually is doing for GE.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Tilden. That was a good perspective. So you're saying predictive analytics, keep a focus on customer, and then you have your go-to-market strategy to keep it on. Okay. Thanks. So Kaushik is going to bring his initial couple of minutes data governance perspective, as he has a strong background on patents around. Yeah.
So I think my fellow panelists talk about data monetization and analytics. The central theme is, as you are looking at AI, ML, and all the fuzzy stuff, data is your core asset. And I belong to a US bank, and obviously, we have all the technologies you can imagine. We have all the warehouse, data lake, and we can talk about all those. My charter is to really simplify the business. My charter is to really make data-driven organization. To me, the fundamental philosophy is to really make sure that your business strategy and your data are talking at same language. We talked about, right, you will hear from panelists, they talk about analytics, they talk about results, they talk about customer experience. The core is still the data, and core is the data that you are able to manage. So, in my last few years, I've been part of strategy team. We have worked on 4 core principles or themes, and I'd like to share them. Number 1 theme for us is you know your data or data strategy. We invest time talking to business to understand business strategy. We make sure that the data that we have is connected to business assets. So we bring accountability to business in terms of what the data is, in terms of the strategy is concerned. Number 2, I would say we have worked on architecture. Now you can have all your strategy, you can have your data, but then if you follow the market, technology market, it's evolving, the technology tools are coming up. But how can we have a sustainable, scalable architecture? It's like making sure that your legacy as well as new gen, you have your young gen and your own data warehouse, both can talk to each other and seamlessly. You don't want your data scientists to spend time and just plug the data. We want to make sure that data is scalable, can be integrated. So that's the second piece I spend time on, making sure that we have right level of architecture so that we can scale up. The third piece I would say is making sure that you have right data governance. Now, data governance is part of data management. Historically, most companies have invested on master data management. Having a good data is the lingo that we use. But then how can we advance this lingo to privacy by design? I'm sure all of you understand, a lot of public data is being used, a lot of private data is used, but the success, especially in the financial market or even the evolving market, is how responsible you are with your data, how trusted you are with the data. So, some of you know about GDPR, you may know CCPA, especially in the US market, and India also is coming back with IDEA privacy law. So, the space, that third piece, which is very important, is data governance. I don't look at this as just merely or data as a governance, as a privacy, but then looking right from data ingestion all the way to consumption and making sure that you're responsible and you have role-based access and other stuff that are going in. And in fact, I'm very happy to share more details in terms of patents that we have. The last piece, which I believe is very important as a part of the whole ecosystem, is data ops. In fact, we do recognize that fact that while we are talking about architecture, strategy, and all of that, your organized structure, the way you operate your business, the way you have operations, the way you have your systems, they need to work in a seamless manner. Again, that's a 4th area that I'm going to focus on. Again, we'd like to share the more if you have questions.
Yeah. Thanks. I think he's focusing on data governance. That's quite good insight. As speaking about predictive analytics and keeping customer first, he also spoke about keeping customer first. I think I would like to go to music industry because we are very excited to hear, okay, what kind of analytics that you are feeding to your radio jockeys, the people around you. What is this analytics wing that is doing at Radio City? Can you give your central pitch?
Thank you, Viren. So, whenever I interact with anybody outside, as a customer, people think the radio jockey is the one who decides if this kind of content goes on air or this kind of music like it should go on air. But it's not the case, because in our industry, what happens like each and every parameter before it goes on air is scrutinized at a programming level. Now, if I'm talking about our industry as a layman, so industry is driven by 3-4 factor kind of thing. One is the music, which like all of us are aware of that. Second thing is the content. Now, within the content also there are different parameters, and then the jockey. Now, personality of the jockey, and the 4th parameter is the brand. Now, what happens like the data plays very pivotal role. So, if I'm talking about India as a market heterogeneous, right now, unlike a television channel, like one content goes, one broadcaster are there. In our industry, there are 30 different stations we are running. So, for example, in Mumbai, so music is a key driver kind of thing. That insight comes from the data. But the moment I go to the south, content is a key driver. Hence, the engagement factor is very high. So then our priority becomes we need to focus content. Anything which goes on here needs to be scrutinized. Now, the moment I go to down south, Hyderabad is a completely jockey-driven market. So these are the inside the entire brand team, entire marketing, entire programming team. They look at the parameter and accordingly content and the marketing activity goes on here. Now, at the same time, like those who are in media, Thursday, Friday is very bad for us because the data comes. Whatever implementation you have done, whether that has resulted or not, that is very important. So if number goes up, you are happy. If number goes down, then you are going back. Okay, and then you are looking at where you have done wrong and where you have done right. So this is the thing in our industry.
So it's a geography-driven market. You're saying for South, it's a jockey-driven market.
Correct.
In some cases, you're feeding the jockey with trends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're capturing the feedback after the show.
That's true.
Okay.
So and everything is great data driven. Unlike like a jockey can't decide. So trust me, like sometimes I have seen there is a limitation. If jockeys exceed the limit,
Yeah.
okay, then he is answerable. Okay, that kind of information.
That's really great to know. Okay. So I'll now go to Srikanth Kejriwal, who brings the manufacturing perspective. Okay, he's from Mahindra and Mahindra. So any central pitch or any thoughts that you want to bring for your opening comments?
Thanks, Viren. I'll talk about my journey at Mahindra and Mahindra. 4 years ago, I joined the company as a founding member of the Advanced Analytics team for Mahindra Limited. Manufacturing, you would know, relatively in terms of analytics maturity is low when compared to a financial services or a retail industry. So the challenge in front of us as a founding member of the analytics team at Mahindra was quite high, wherein the industry, auto industry itself was getting disrupted, and our business leaders, they thought how analytics can help in better decision making for the organization. So we worked on certain critical business problems around if we are launching new vehicles in the market, then what should be the launch price, which can lead to the best profitability. Problem areas like when the vehicles are sold and they are in the warranty period, and if we see that defects are coming, so should we do a vehicle recall or should we let the fix happen one by one? Then we have a problem statements like on the customer side, how can we retain our existing customers, or which are the right customers to go after. So we built advanced analytics solutions over 3 years and added tremendous business value to the organization. But what we started with was a project-based or a problem-based approach. That what is the problem as a business leader you are facing. However, after establishing the value of analytics in the organization, we have reached to a level where we are engaging with our president at the level of strategy, data as a source of competitive advantage. So I'll give you the example of my current role where I'm leading analytics for our farm equipment business. So we are talking around how data can be a source of competitive advantage, where to play and how to win. When I say where to play, you would know that a tractor business is very much dependent on our front end dealers which are there, and then the dealer salesmen who are working in the dealerships. So we have limited control on the quality of those dealers, but we have to make sure that we enable them to the best. So when I say where to play, we are helping the dealers and the dealer salesmen to prioritize the villages where they should go after in selling the products. For example, a dealer would be working for maybe 100 villages. Now, out of those 100 villages, which have the maximum potential? So that is where we are leveraging a lot of external data analytics, and we have come up with an economic potential index and a rural sentiment index, which helps us in prioritizing which villages to go after. Similarly, Once the villages are identified, then we have to look at what kind of customer segments or what kind of customers do we need to go after. That is where our consumer insights, analytics and technology come together. The consumer insights from the field studies we get, how does the farm consumer look like? So we see that there are different kinds of farm consumers these days, around small farmers, big farmers, and agripreneurs. When I say small and big farmers, they are the landholding size. So we need to customize our pitch and the products as per the different consumer segments that we have. Then we apply analytics on top of the leads that we get or inquiries, that which are the leads which we should go after, and the hyper-personalization, like which product should be offered to which farmer category that we are talking about. And then finally, we are integrating certain. So in our industry, data is a big problem. We don't get the farmer data itself, in spite of getting all the systems. So we are working with certain ecosystem of agri-tech companies through which they have used satellite data to map the farm, and through the farm, the farmer. So we are working with those kind of agri-tech companies and seeing how we can collaborate, work together, and then become more and more data rich and tech savvy. Lastly, our latest offering, which is around farm as a service, where we want to engage our farmer not just for selling a machinery or a tractor. We have a farm as a service offering where we offer advisory services, soil testing, and precision farming. That is where we are working with a lot of agri-tech companies on the AI and machine.
Yeah, thanks, Srikanth. That was quite comprehensive. Okay, so it's like they are also going into customer segmentation. There is a deeper customer segmentation, even reaching to the last customer. They're doing analytics, predictive analytics. It's a combination of all. And you spoke about integration. This is happening in banking industry also. These days, earlier, if you have a bank loan and you apply for a credit card, they used to give you a credit card at a healthy limit. But these days, in banks also, if you are not paying your 4 EMIs and you apply for a credit card, the data is integrated. They are not going to increase your credit card limit because they know that you are not paying your last 5 EMIs. Okay, so that kind of integration is also happening in banking industry all over. Now, Ankush is one of our director, CRISIL. So, can you make your central pitch?
Sure. Thank you, Narendra. So, I think data and analytics is a very, very broad term if you see, and I'm going to focus on two aspects as part of my central pitch. One is digitization and the second is automation. I think we heard from other panelists where there is in industries there are a lot of data, which we call big data, and there are industries where there is lack of data, which we saw in manufacturing. I think if I give you some examples on how 2019 was in some way a very, very disruptive year on the web, and I'll substantiate that with examples. I see one name there, Uber. Do you know what happens every digital minute on the web? How many cars does Uber book in a minute? Can anybody take a wild guess? In a minute, how many Uber cars get booked? How much of data does Uber have to, in 1 minute?
1 million, she's saying.
In 1 minute? Any other numbers? It's 9,775 cars that gets booked world over by Uber in a minute. That's the kind of data that they have to deal with every minute, every day. How much Google searches happen in a minute? Any rough guesses? It's 4.5 million Google searches happen in a minute on the web, and equal number of YouTube's videos get uploaded in the web. So the point is that we are in such a transformational age on the web. In the last 2-3 years, the kind of data that has gone on the web is equal to the last 60 years data that has gone on the web. And this is all generated by people sitting here, and the 700 million people who have access to internet in India and globally. I think there are areas where there is so much data, and then that's why digitization is very, very critical. The second aspect I'm going to touch is on the automation part. I think given the volumes of data that we deal with, using advanced technology is imperative. There is no two ways that we cannot use advanced technology. In that one example I'm going to give you is from my industry. I think Virendra spoke about his opening pitch where finance is becoming the anchor in the data and analytics space, and I belong to that industry. I represent Presidia. I think we are into monetization of data and also for self-use of data internally for a lot of our research activities that we do. One key problem area that we identified was in terms of capturing data and storing it right. I think that's the bigger area, and one of the surveys that a global giant had conducted says 71% of the time of a data scientist goes in these two areas. I think the problem was to solve this first. I think how to store data correctly and how to ensure that it's clean data for analytics or models to relay on that. I think that's the problem area that we identified, and that's where we used some of the advanced technology like machine learning to actually extract data and store it in a proper way. I think that's something that was kind of a breakthrough for us and in our company that we currently work, and this has helped at least saving 30% of the time of every data scientist and analyst who has to work on the data.
Okay, thank you, Ankush. That was very good. I think we have covered the high-level things about in this central pitch. People have talked about segmentation, he's talking about trends, he's talking about the data analytics that is happening in the background. He spoke about the customer first, he's also speaking about the customer first as well as data architecture and governance. I'll just take this to the next level where we talk about data strategy. Okay, there are two things that are happening. Okay, one is a business strategy. When people launch the business, just like when Twitter launched, they went into big bang strategy. So big bang strategy because they were allowing everybody to tweet. They did not had a requirement to have millions of data before launching the business. Hence they went into big bang. When Amazon launched, they say Amazon used follow the rabbit strategy. It's like initially started selling the books. Then they said, you have unused books at your home, why don't you come and sell on our platform? Okay, then people started selling books. Then slowly it is opened for gather products. So it was like a follow the rabbit kind of strategy used, which was initially they took the data of the people who purchased their books, then allow those people to book. There are a number of other strategies that people are using, like Microsoft, who is a big player, used market strategy to launch its video game or a game. The only reason is when there is an ample data needed, you needed to go into market, you are going to choose a different strategy. And when there is nothing needed, you can go big bang. Okay. In terms of data strategy, you can make your data strategy based on structured data. You say, I want to have big bang for structured data. For unstructured data, which is like XML, JSON, which is difficult to read, and you have to interpret, you say, I will have different strategy. So you can have a data strategy based on the type of the data and type of consumer. Now I'll just go across my panel. Okay. So we'll first go with our music industry giant, Kesana. So anything that you want to say on data strategy and business strategy and what music industry will go for?
So if you look at what is happening right now, people, as I stated earlier, so different market, different kind of drivers are there. So one has to focus on the driver. Now recently, based on data, what we realized, what was happening, people they are coming and they are consuming radio. 60 minutes is the maximum thing. Now at the same time, what happens like if there is a Bollywood or Tollywood or Bollywood kind of thing, artist comes to our studio and people they want to see that like, what is happening. So based and that kind of response was coming to us. Okay, when we look at this kind of response, can we do something? So we launched another equivalent to like a terrestrial video city.
Yeah.
So where like let's say Salman Khan is coming to our studio and the interaction is happening with the jockey. Okay, see you can listen in a 60-minute, you can listen maximum 10 minutes. But what after that? Okay, if you want to see that, like that is also available. Okay, so this has helped both in terms of engagement to the customer, at the same time it's a revenue generation model also for us. So there are many brands, they want to engage with this kind of content. Okay, because most of the brands they are looking for the engagement kind of thing. It's not about just the reaching of the people. It is about the engagement. So these are the content which is very high engaging, and hence the brands are coming and they are investing.
So you're saying brand like Salman Khan coming to you, you're capturing the data, you're using that to engage that customer again.
Yeah.
So it's like
so at micro targeting, the way like he said just now talk about Mahindra. So what you know that this kind of people they are coming, okay, they are watching. So it's easy for me to communicate to the advertiser if you are looking this kind of page, this is the best fit for you.
So customer segmentation and targeting the customer again to get the repeat, because engagement is important in your business.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. That's what very. I'll go to our Kaushik, who is the architectural governance. Anything about data strategy and business strategy from your architectural governance perspective? If you have to tell 2 things or 3 things, that to make a data strategy and business strategy, you will take care of these 3 things.
Sure. So I think the very fundamental thing is you have to look at data strategy as a horizontal. Because our experience is, if you look at business, they are generally verticalized, and they are siloed. So your investment should be first is to really recognize who is the customer, how do you really cut across data, and make a central foundational team that's going to be your centerpiece around business. And you need to federate as well. Meaning you need to federate in terms of your business lines, meaning you may be acquiring data from outside, you may be having your own foundational data, you may be even supplying data. So you need to make sure that you are co-sourcing as well as co-working. So your data strategy in terms of making the right architecture, which is API based, or even looking into the external market, is fundamentally in place. Last but not least is when you are working in this federated model, you need to make sure that you are protecting your data also, meaning you are monetizing and protecting. So having the right governance in terms of protecting the data is equally important, especially in financial industry, and I'm sure it is equally important as you are working in different industries.
Okay. So it has to be horizontal, it can be federated, and it should be protected. Thanks. So Vidya, you would like to add anything?
I just wanted to add people aspect to this. What he said was completely right. The strategy is something which is top driven mostly. But how does it actually go and reach the actual ground level staff working? So understanding what their requirements and what we try to do is we try to find out how or what makes their lives easier. If I bring the data to a single platform, how I can leverage that to solve the business problems. So when it all is available at one place, it's easier for them to pick it up and also visualize it or use it. That's what we try to develop. So it's the people who wants to ultimately use the data are actually enabled and have a free reign there.
She has a perfect customer focus, and that's what the financial industry customer insight leads you to actually.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to add your views on strategy. Any 3 points that you will take care for delivering data strategy for your segment?
Sure. I mean, we're typically an industrial company, and any equipment that is there that's got a lot of sensors in it, it generates tons of data. Now, the strategy that we were looking at from the very beginning, we had like almost 70, 80 years of data with us for all the equipment that GE has ever sold. Storage was one part in future. It's all going to be automated. But if you look at the current strategy, what we designed and what we're working on is, we don't want to miss any single element, any single parameter of data that is coming from any equipment. Because we do not know how does it impact. If you compare just a simple aircraft engine, when an aircraft engine is flying, in an hour, it generates 2 terabytes of data that's fed into a system from the 800 different sensors. If you miss any element which is going to be critical to understand the parameter or the performance of that engine, in a failure mode analysis, that can be a completely big deterrent. So one of the biggest things that we did was, we did not go for the ETL strategy, where people say extract, you transform, and then you load the data. We said we will have ELT, we will extract it, we will load it, and then we will transform. And then we added another dimension to T, is what we call as threading. By threading, what we call is, you are bringing in the data into an ecosystem which is single, but you're adding more dimensions to it. So I'm getting the engine data, I'm getting the aircraft data, I'm getting the weather data, and I'm trying to like correlate all of that environment into a single platform. So that when you're running an object which is called, we call it a mission fit, we basically fed all of these external parameters also in it to give a more simulated environment. That gives us a better analytic as compared to just the data from my
So Chandan, you're taking the data from 5 different sources. You may be taking from engine, you may be taking from bearing, you may be taking from aircraft. then it comes to your warehouse, you use different tools, you integrate that data, you build your intelligence on top of that.
That's great.
So it's a huge volume of data. We'll come to volume a little later. Okay. So Ankush, any 3 points that you want to tell me about data strategy for your domain?
Sure. So, as you said, our vision as part of the data analytics team in CRISIL is to empower the BFSI segment to take better decisions. I think that's what we work towards for. I think for doing that, I think essentially what we use is structured data and unstructured data which you touch. So I'll break that structured data into 2 parts. There's something which is publicly available and which is our IP, which is in our data. And the second is the unstructured data. Our public data essentially includes company data, capital markets data, and industry data. Essentially, these are the 3 sets of data that we use to make some decisions out of it. And there is this unstructured data, which is essentially the news and the social media, which has a lot of noise in it, but that's what we have to integrate it with this structured data to have some useful insights. There are 3 most recent innovations in the technology world that we try and implement. The first being, I think, the cloud technology. I think most of the companies, the banks and NBFCs are open and willing to move into cloud. I think that's where a lot of things are happening, and something that we also, as platform providers and data providers, are willing and open to do that. The second is the machine learning and the cognitive part of it. I think that is something that we are beginning to use as part of our strategy in-house to make more insights into what outcomes we can drive from the data that we have. And the third is on the digitization part that I spoke on. I think how do we ensure that we store the data properly so that a lot of the data is clean and able to use in-house in a more meaningful way.
Ankush, perfect. I think he spoke about the 3 emerging trends that are happening in the industry to handle the huge volume of big data. He spoke about machine learning, he is speaking about cloud, and also he is speaking about his NR solution. So, for the volume perspective, we'll give a question to panelists in 1 minute later that to handle a big volume, which solution they think is a fit. But I'll go to Srikanth. Srikanth, 3 points in a short time, which you will say, you will consider while making a strategy for manufacturing domain.
I'll expand this question a little bit. I want to touch base on the interesting data strategy that we have built. So you would know that Mahindra is a conglomerate. It's not just a car manufacturer or a tractor manufacturer. We have other businesses like Mahindra Financial Services, Club Mahindra, and Mahindra Lifespace. So many such businesses are there. Some of those retail and consumer businesses. So what we have done is, it took a lot of time, but the data strategy was that can we bring in data from all these companies together, the consumer data I'm talking about, and leverage that for a competitive advantage. So I am happy to say that after like 3 years of hard work on this area, we have been able to bring in all the consumer data of different organizations in a single warehouse, and we are adding value to each and every business. So just imagine, we are trying to create a loyalty for a consumer who is buying a Mahindra XUV. They could also buy a Mahindra Financial Services or a Club Mahindra membership or a Mahindra Lifespace apartment. So that is the kind of loyalty that we want to bring in. That is our business strategy part. And from a data strategy, we are bringing in data from the different businesses, where some businesses are benefiting more if they did not have their own data, while the others are helping.
Okay, so if I had to draw the similarities, he also said they're bringing data from different sources, putting it in a data house, they integrating it, they are putting in transportation, various business intelligence tools, and you're generating the breakthrough results. Same with you said you're bringing sources. He also spoke about the segmentation of the customer and the celebrity importance and tracking the trend afterwards. He also spoke about the 3 emerging trends like cloud and the machine learning, which are emerging. Okay, now before I jump to the next question, I'll just make this environment a little light. See, about data strategy, there's a joke goes on, right? See, never wink a girl in the night. What they say, your data strategy is such that it should reach to the customer. लड़की को अंधेरे में आंख मारी तो होगा क्या? It's nothing going to happen. Your data strategy should such that it should reach to your customer. Don't do something in the darkness. You have to reach to your customer, and it should be part of your business strategy. Okay. I'll move on to my next question, which we are talking about, because we are talking about smart data and breakthrough results. One thing that everybody is trying to do with this big volume of data is innovation and automation. Okay, everybody want to innovate. Okay, and there are a number of practices that people are trying for innovation. So, Vidya, you want to start. Anything that you would like to say that you have a huge big data in your organization, or not for your organization, maybe for any organization. What ideas that you want to suggest them for innovation or automation?
When it comes to data, people who are already in the market playing this game have huge amount of data, and nobody talks small data anymore. Everybody talks about big data. And there are a lot of improvements which have happened on the storage. Storage is one of the key problems or challenges that the banking domain itself faces, because we have all the structured data available in the banking domain, whether it's a customer going and buying something or customer gives us personal information. Everything is available on the platform, and people sometimes are overwhelmed and they just don't end up, they just don't know how to go about the usage of it. So the technology that earlier was not present is very much available now, where you can access the big data at your own desktop, not wait for your technology team or your development team to actually bring in the data for you. Real-time access of the data is one of the key improvements which have happened in the banking industry. When I was handling fraud analytics for Citi some time back, we used to have all these data. We used to run SQL queries overnight to bring the data out, put it in the spreadsheet, whatever is possible to, we didn't have Excel access also that time, it was only XLS. So we used to have only the limited data within our range, and then try to set the parameters based on that. It was tedious, it was not as effective as we wanted it to be, and it always ends up in, you're missing something. But now we have everything in the model. If the machine learning model is already available, it fits the data inside that and gives you whatever insights that you want to look for. There are data coming from, like how Chandan mentioned, we have various sources of data. Visa gives you the data, MasterCard gives you the data, the Discover card used to give the data, the Amex has the data. So every data we try to put them in one bucket and try to bring the insight in real time. So that's the kind of advancement that has happened.
Yeah, thank you. So you're talking about that one is integration of data using machine learning. Then you're also talking about the real time. Okay. So just bring this real time, which is very important. Real time data we need. Everywhere we have the OTPs now, even to pay the transaction. So real time data transformation is a big part of the big data analytics, and that is very much needed. Anything that Chandan you want to add? A couple of points for automation and innovation.
Sure. So GE has a renewables business where we actually go into the business of wind turbines. Now, if you look at a wind turbine, typically what it does, wind is blowing, the turbine is going to rotate, it's going to produce electricity. It's not that simple. Historically, the turbines used to be very, very static. The blades would be fixed, and then turbines would rotate depending on how the velocity of the blade is. In the last couple of years, we actually went ahead and looked at the data. We made a suite of applications called One Wind. The product, what it does is, it actually evaluates the various parameters. Now, all the wind turbines in a wind farm are now connected to IoT devices. What this application or the product does is, it real time, it's interpreting and looking at the weather forecasting. It's trying to see how much of the wind pattern is looking like, how much of the velocity of wind could be potentially, and in real time also trying to analyze it. And it just gives recommendation to the operator of the wind turbine block, basically company, how much of the turbine needs to be rotated, how much of blade needs to be rotated. Now, I'll give you a practical example of that. When a blade rotates one full time in a single wind turbine, it can power a village of 800 homes, one single rotation. So by changing the parameters, by giving analytics in the hand of a wind operator and giving him recommendations, he can at the click of button change the direction of the wind turbine, change the angle of the blade, so that whatever the wind velocity is, it can make the most efficient use of the turbine and produce the maximum electricity, which can go back in the grid. For us, it's simple analytics, but for the wind service provider, it's all revenue.
Yeah, Chandran, that was great. So he was recommending use of IoT actually. So we are getting all big data and smart data trends here. Machine learning, use IoT for innovation, transfer data, anything that you want to add?
Sure. So, in banking industry, the term is, banking is required, banks are not required. So, practically speaking, the technology is changing the way we do banking. Just to give a real code, blockchain, some of you may know. It's a new evolving technology which is used for different ways, but then our impetus is to really look at the technology trends and see how we can adopt these trends to make our banking more effective. So we are using blockchain for real-time settlement. We are part of the co-sourcing. So in narration, for any industry, innovation would really mean that how can you change your business processes in a core fundamental way by using technology, and examples support all data and other things. But then you can look at different trends of technology and adopt the business.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think we have covered all. I'll jump to my next question. Okay. And in terms of innovation, I just want to add a couple of small examples. Like today, if you go on Google and search for car, okay, what is happening is Google is selling these data to the bankers, okay, and we get a data, any bank in India get a data that this person has searched for a car. And what happens is the person from banking starts you calling, saying, do you need a loan? These are how the people are integrated. The another example of innovation are the car parking, the famous use case for AI, where they say you go in a car parking for US and advanced countries, and what will happen is your number of your car plate will be sensed. And what will happen is they will track what you purchased last 10 times when you visited that mall. And immediately they will say that you purchased a favorite chocolate for your daughter, you purchased this household things. And the moment you went into the shop, they'll say out of the 10 items that you regularly purchase, 8 are available, 2 are not available. Now this is a classic AI use case where even an automated algorithm that is use of big data. So these things are around the corner where if your Aadhaar card, everything is linked, you're passing by Pizza Hut and they'll say your favorite Pizza Hut has 30% discount. Right? See, all this is going to happen. I'll jump on to my...
If I may just add to this point, like, you breaking the barrier in terms of have all data available,
Yeah.
but remember privacy. That's the one piece which is very important.
Yeah.
And in a closing remarks, the responsible organization are going to use data in effective way with consent are the one who will survive.
Yeah. So I was just coming up to my next question. That's why I threw that example. Okay. My next question is about privacy and secrecy of the data when you're bringing this whole innovation. Because you're data governance and also has seen, can you first throw your perspective on it?
I mean, to the point that, look, there are possibilities. AI, technology, AI, ML, all of them are giving multiple possibilities of disrupting businesses. At the same time, the other day, you and me are victim of this. Sometimes we are a victim with consent, sometimes we are without consent. So I believe privacy will play a very important role, and I'm sure all of you are following the Indian Privacy Act itself is coming up. GDPR is already in EU region. There has been several noted fines and challenges that our companies are facing, especially when it comes to the data breach or even the use of data. So,
I think I'll just because we have 2 minutes left here. Okay, so what I want to say is last thing is this big data has a big volume also. So what I want to use, just you have to give 2 words for concluding this your pitch, everybody. Just 2 words if you want to say something. Smart data and breakthrough analytics, what would you suggest in 2 words or 4 words? Whatever.
Trusted data is trusted and responsible data.
Absolutely. Governance of data, privacy,
Yeah.
those are big items.
Anything you want to say?
For me, it is democratization of data and analytics tools.
What do you want to say?
So I think technology is as good as or as bad as the person who is using it. So I think you please use the right tools and the right write statistical models for your data analytics, data analytics.
New business models powered by data.
Okay. What you would like to say?
Credible data, because this is very important for all of us.
Yeah, see, for the concluding remarks, I say we have just got 5 different pitch from 5 different domains. So we have looked at the trends, machine learning, IoT, AI is the trend. The other part is data governance is quite important. Third is collect the data, have it in a warehouse, securely process it, and that is the way forward. There is no, what I can say, ready answer for this. This is a challenging place to be, but you have to learn the ropes quickly, and your organization will definitely succeed on this path. And on that note, I would like to thank all panelists for giving their view freely and quite confidently. I'll open for questions. Anybody has any questions? You said cleaning of data? See, if you're talking about data cleaning tools, okay. See, there are, yeah, you would like to go first?
Sure, I think the good data is what I believe is a motto that we're looking to solve. Obviously, you can get data from multiple sources, and you may have, there are 2 contexts. Putting a context to data is very important. In my experience, a name itself, take example of name, that could be a middle name can qualify in particular ways. So having your own context to data, both from internal systems as well as using market data to validate it. So tools can solve the problem, but at the same time, you need to have your own business interpretation of it, investments on your knowing your data in context. In current market, if I look at it, there are multiple products who are using AI ML algorithms as well, really do the data cleansing at the fly. And they are doing cataloging as well, so that you can really
I'll just add in 1 minute, I'll add. See, which type of data you want to clean, that is important. One is the reference data, another is the customer data. If you have to clean the reference data, which is like CT code, CT names, you can put algorithm, you can clean it. But when you are trying to clean customer data, like James Allen has by mistakenly missed his name or misspelled it. It is very difficult to correct with the business rules or the tools available. So it's a hard place to be in. But one solution is have a business rules from the business SMEs. Other is you use the ready reference data cleaning tools that available in the market, and that is the way to go. In the financial market, you will see that balances are correct, but the reference data still has an accuracy challenge.
All right. Well, we've got one final question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I allowed? Do we have time? Okay, very quickly. So good morning, my name is Sanjay. I just wanted to have your perspective on a very interesting dichotomy that's emerging. While the brands are getting data and the business cases out of it, the technology is getting very advanced. The customer on the other side is getting far more not accessible in terms of, my Gmail ID has 30,100 messages which are very, very targeted, so as to say, from the brand side. I don't take calls if they are spam and all that. So from the consumption point of view of these targeted communications, the customer is getting far more, self-driven rather than be driven by the brand. So what are your take on it? While the technology is helping the brands, the customer is getting less and less accessible.
Can I take it?
Yeah.
So in banking industry, I'm not really proud to say, but when I started my career, I used to do the cold calls. So I know the pain of being on both these sides. Now I get the cold calls, like how you mentioned, if it's from a spam or the Truecaller tells me that it's an unknown number, I don't pick up either. And I politely, even if I do, I politely decline and put it back. But if you see, from banking perspective, we have come a long way. Instead of taking a bunch of people whose phone numbers are available, not even the name, just the phone number is available, we were making those calls. Now we have a strategy, we have a propensity base created for us before even we targeted clientele. So I don't target 1 lakh customer, I target only 1,000 customer based on my machine learning algorithms, the rules that I have given and the residual propensity base that it has given me. and target only those. So this has been a target for almost all the banks do this, all the financial services do this, insurance companies do this. So the ultimate goal is that everybody is fighting for the market wallet share. So if I have to be up in my game, then obviously I have to reach out to the target clients. But what I would say is it has come a long way, and it has been refined, and it has come to a specific place where we target only those people who are potential.
You just one line. See, the traditional marketing is a bulk marketing. We are sending mails to thousands of people, all our customers. We don't check whether they need a mortgage or whether they need a saving account. We don't check. But now the mindset is changing. We are getting consumer specific. So the less mails will come to you, and you will value the communication that come to you. But we are yet to enter into that stage. So that pain is still there, but there is a lot of adjustment has to be done. We'll catch up.
Thank you.
Well, I think we pretty much run out of time, but we'd like to say thank you to our moderator and our panelists. Have you come to the end of this panel discussion? We have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to request our moderator to do us the honors and hand over a beautiful memento. We've got them being brought on the stage. Yes. So, can you please do us the honors, sir? Presenting a memento to Mr. Ankush Gadi from CRISIL Limited. Thank you very much for your time here, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shrikant Kejriwal from Mahindra & Mahindra Limited, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. For your contribution today, Mr. Kaushik Bhatt, Wells Fargo, India. Mr. Chandan Vijay from GE India, thank you very much for sharing with us today. We'd like to thank Ms. Vidya V. Raghavan from Standard Chartered Bank and Mr. Sanat Kumar Mishra from Music Broadcast Limited, better known as Radio City India. Thank you very much. Well, I request Ms. Vidya to do us the honors and on behalf of all of us, present the memento to our moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, he kept it tight, he kept it crisp and engaging. Mr. Virendra Daphne from Barclays, India. Thank you very much. Let's have a group photograph right now. All our panelists, our moderator. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please join us in thanking them for their contribution, their sharing of their experience. Thank you.